Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. I am here at Main Street Murray HQ, Main Street Sports Today HQ here in Columbia. Wade coming to you from his home in Pulaski, getting ready for a big high school high school basketball.
Rewind.
Tuesday night. Yeah. Record scratch. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The weather has kind of subsided pretty much. I think a couple of folks may have gone back to school late today, but I think everybody is up and going, certainly around here. So again, we'll have some high school hoops action tonight, and we will both be deployed. So look for our coverage in the Pulaski Citizen and in Main Street Murray, respectively, here of tonight's action. But yeah,
and on the PCL airwaves tonight.
We'll in your case,
multifaceted, baby,
the multimedia star Wade Neely. So look out for him. But we will be here with you for the next couple of hours, talking about local, regional, and national sports topics, and looking forward to doing so. Before Wade gets off to Lawrenceburg later this evening for the District 8 3A opener between the Wildcats and the visiting Bobcats. Cat fight
tonight. This game is so big that neither county had school today, but they said, we still getting it on because hatred runs deep. And Giles County is desperate for wins after they were swept on both occasions last year.
Speaking of hate, we're going to be talking in the second hour with Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, as 100 Miles of Hate gets renewed this weekend. And if you're an MTSU alumnus, you know exactly what that means. So looking forward to speaking to Chip, as we do virtually every Tuesday, but particularly this Tuesday, because both the Blue Raiders and the Lady Raiders are off to solid starts, and excited about checking in with him. In the next segment, we will be joined by ALAINA Morris, not to be confused with Alanis Morissette, of Main Street Media, as we talk a little Southeastern Conference women's basketball. ALAINA covers the Vanderbilt Commodores for Main Street Media, and they took a tough one on the chin last night on the road. But looking forward to getting her thoughts on that, on the Lady Vols, and women's basketball across the Southeastern Conference here in the next segment. We'll also be talking some NFL. Again, Super Wild Card weekend wrapped up last night, and last night's game was no more super than any of the others this weekend. In fact, it might have been the biggest dud of the bunch. It even, caught some strays during the broadcast, I think. So looking forward to talking a little bit about the Rams and the Vikings and what we've got in store coming down this weekend for the divisional round, as well as other NFL news. And got some college football and college basketball stuff to talk about as well. So big day, big show. Starting to thaw out a little bit. Snow is starting to melt. Folks are starting to get back in school, like we said. Things are getting back to normal. So I guess we should too, right, Wade?
No, ain't no doubt, partner. Let's rip and run on this Tuesday.
Let's do it, and let's go ahead and get started with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Strap in, boys and girls. The Tuesday Rundown is off and running here on Main Street Sports Today. Girls basketball high school action. Few games were played across the state last night. One of them was Westmoreland and Red Boiling Springs, and it was a low-scoring affair with Westmoreland winning that game 29-28. Boys basketball action saw Fairview with a 37-35 win versus Cheatham County. It was Laverne 41, Blackman 39. And I mentioned Westmoreland and Red Boiling Springs. It was Westmoreland with a 57-20 win in boys action. Good wins for Westmoreland there. Women's basketball scores from last night. LSU taking care of Vanderbilt. 83-77 was your final in that one. It was Trevecca 56, Mississippi College 51. Bethel cruising by Fisk 67-50. On men's action last night, A Trevecca victory to complete the sweep versus Mississippi College, 89-77 in favor of the Trojans there. NBA action last night. The Grizzlies fall by 2, 120-118 over the Rockets. It was a good win for the Rockets, bad loss for the Grizz. And speaking of bad losses, we talked about it earlier, but the Minnesota Vikings, I kind of predicted this last week on the show, Mo. I didn't know it would come to this, however. LA just cruising. 27-9 game played out in Arizona last night. The Rams advanced to divisional play to cap yesterday's schedule.
That was an ugly one, to say the least. High school basketball action tonight. These are double headers beginning at 6 o'clock with the girls. McGavock goes to Antioch. Lewis County is at Battle Creek. Pearl Cone travels to Beach. Brentwood hosting Independence. It's Pope John Paul II at Brentwood Academy. Centennial hosting Ravenwood. Dixon County goes to Clarksville Northwest. Lincoln County comes to Columbia Central. Again, we'll have coverage of that one at mainstreetmurray.com late tonight. You might just want to wait till the morning, though. Battleground Academy comes to Columbia Academy. It's Santa Fe traveling to Cornersville. Nashville Christian is at Donaldson Christian. Davidson Academy hosts Friendship Christian. Richland goes to Eagleville. Is that one on PCO Live?
That one's off tonight.
That one's off tonight. Only
couldn't
one
entice
crew
anybody
tonight.
to make the couldn't entice anybody to make the trip up tonight, but that should be two outstanding games.
No doubt. Houston County is at East Hickman. Ezel Harding hosts Good Pasture. Harpeth goes to Fairview. Ensworth is at Father Ryan's. Summertown goes to Fayetteville. Page is at Franklin. Big Williamson County rivalry there. Mount Juliet is at Gallatin. Hampshire hosting Culleoka. Green Hill is at Hendersonville. Hillsborough goes to Hunter's Lane. White House is at Joe Burns. Overton hosting Cane Ridge. Kip Nashville taking on visiting Stratford. West Creek is at Kenwood. Franklin Classical goes to Lancaster Christian. As we mentioned, Giles County is over at Lawrence County. That one is on PC Live. Greenbrier is at Macon County. Glencliff goes to Maplewood. Martin Luther King hosting Hume Fogg. STEM Academy is at Merrill Hyde. Grace Christian of Franklin travels over to Middle Tennessee Christian. Stewart County is at Montgomery Central. Big 10-2A matchup as Loretto comes to Mount Pleasant. Franklin County is at Murfreesboro Central. Rockvale is at Oakland. Station Camp goes to Portland. Riverdale hosts Siegel. And Creekwood is at Rossview. Creekwood is at Rossview. There we go.
You got it. And other games tonight on the docket. Cookville going to be at Smyrna this evening. Warren County is at Spring Hill. You can catch Clarksville at Springfield tonight. You can also see Lebanon at Stewart's Creek. Nolansville's on the road at Summit. Sycamore will play host to Liberty Creek. Franklin Road Academy is at University School of Nashville. Lawson traveling to Valor Collegiate. Smith County, who's at Watertown tonight. It'll be Providence Christian hitting the road for a trip to Webb School. East Robertson will be at White House Heritage. East Nashville is at Whites Creek. You can catch Laverne at Wilson Central, and Dixon Academy will be at Zion Christian. Girls basketball action for tonight. You can see Lipscomb Academy at Harpeth Hall. That game gets underway at 5:30. At 6, it'll be CPA at St. Cecilia Academy. Boys standalone games tonight. At 7, you can catch Mount Juliet Christian at Clarksville Academy. You can also see Lipscomb Academy, who's at MBA. Speaking of seeing, you can watch Valpo at Belmont tonight at 6:30 on ESPN+. Should be a good one there up in Nashville. Speaking of in Nashville, you can also see the Preds, who are hosting the Golden Knights. Vegas making the trip out for a 7 p.m. puck drop. That game comes your way on FanDuel Sports South. And that brings us to the end of Tuesday's schedule. And that brings us whole for the Tuesday rundown here on Main Street Sports Today.
Your top story brought to you as always by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m., as well as their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story and coming to you from the northern end of the Main Street Preps footprint, courtesy of Blaine Keller. Pope John Paul II has brought Rock Batten home. The former Battleground Academy in Ensworth coach will be the new coach of the Knights. Blaine breaking that news over the weekend. Coach Batten, again, previously at Battleground Academy and at Ensworth, but this past season he was at Savannah Country Day in Georgia. He will step in for Brian Sneed, 15-19 in 3 seasons. Sneed took the place of Justin Geisinger, who is now at Franklin Road Academy. So Coach Batten coming in trying to reestablish the Knights as they are now playing in Division II AA, and in fact will play Columbia Academy next season. Ensworth won 32 games in 5 seasons under Coach Batten, advancing to the D2 AAA quarterfinals twice, making the state semifinals once. At Battleground Academy, he led that team to a pair of state runner-up finishes in 2014 and 2018. Previously, defensive coordinator for Ensworth, was an assistant at MBA, played at Vanderbilt, Detroit native. So I'm sure he's a big Lions fan and enjoying life right now as far as that goes. But again, spent the last season down at Savannah Country Day. The Hornets were 5-7 this past year and reached the GHSA second round in postseason play. Coach Batten 101-60 in 14 seasons as a head coach. And, you know, this is a guy that if you know him, you're really happy to see him back in the area. Great dude. Does a great job, but more than that, kids really gravitate to him. Seen it both at BGA and at Ensworth, and he's just a well-known and well-loved figure in Middle Tennessee high school football coaching, and so really excited to have him back in the area.
Seems like a great hire, right? Not only familiar with the area, but obviously been a part of some great staffs and done a lot of great things in this region. So if I am a person walking around the halls today at Pope John Paul, I'm thinking, man, feels like we got a good leader of young men, and it feels like we're headed in the right direction. Especially considering, you know, a lot of vacancies are completely filled, if not already having been filled. So the fact you were able to pull this off right around the start of the year, after a lot of holes that gotten filled, this feels like a great hire in their regard.
Yeah, it really does, man. This is a good get for them, you think. Again, Coach Batten with a long background here in the area and was, in fact, the West coach in the TACA East-West All-Star Classic last month up in Clarksville. He had basically had already been assigned that position prior to his departure from the state. And so TACA officials, including Columbia's Bill Marbett, decided to just roll with it, even though Coach Batten did not coach in the state this past season. So he came back and actually led the West team to victory. So his last game in Tennessee was a win, and looking to build on that with the Knights. Again, JP2 going to Division II AA, or will stay in Division II AA, but the middle region has kind of shifted around them a little bit with Columbia Academy, the reigning D2A state runner-up, and Grace Christian of Franklin both coming up to D2 AA for the upcoming scheduling cycle. So JP2 will face both of them. Also has Father Ryan in the longstanding Bishop's Cup rivalry on their schedule for 2025, as well as 2A Power, East Robertson, and Columbia Central. So interesting schedule for the Knights as they try to bounce back from some recent struggles, again, under Coach Brian Sneed, who was a alumnus of the school, who was dismissed in November. So JP2 trying to get things going back in the right direction, and feels like they picked a pretty good guy to do it with. I'm interested in this move for a number of reasons, but one of which is Coach Batten's son, Isaiah, started for him down at Savannah Country Day this past year at quarterback. The Knights return Hudson Holman, who threw for 1,800 yards and 21 touchdowns this past season. So Coach Batten walking into a quarterback controversy. Will be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, so it's a little self-inflicted QB controversy, and props to Blaine for doing a good job with this story. And this is I feel like, this is one, they'll certainly have some buzz from those two QBs being on the roster this year, but it feels like there's going to be, this is a hire that gives you a little instant credibility. Not that you necessarily needed it, but gives you a little more extra juice going into this season. But also, that's before he even coaches a game, right? It feels like once you start stacking some wins as well, which I presume will happen in short order, this is a twofold effort. I feel like this is a great fit for JP.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a guy who is familiar with the mid-state. He is familiar with the private school side of the mid-state as far as football goes, and again has had success both at Battleground Academy and at Ensworth, so kind of knows the ins and outs. JP2 went 4-7 this past year. Finished up with consecutive losses to Chattanooga Christian, Franklin Road Academy, and in the opening round of the D2A playoffs at Lausanne. So again, 4-7, wins over Webb School, Good Pasture, and Davidson Academy, all of which were region games, and defeated Rockvale, which also has a new coach. So 4-7 were the Knights this past year. Again, they will open with Webb School, East Robertson, and CA. Finishing up with back-to-back home games against Columbia Central and Davidson Academy. Stout schedule. They're going to get tested. And we will see what Coach Batten's got going up at the Hendersonville School here this fall. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports today. When we continue Top 5 Tuesday, we will be joined by ALAINA Morris of Main Street Media talking a little Southeastern Conference women's basketball. Stick around. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new, handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. In our final segment, Wade and I will be bringing you our top 5 players turned coaches. And, you know, if you've watched us very much, you know that there is typically a connection to, you know, news of the day and that kind of thing in our top 5s. And so we will further explain how we got to players turned coaches later in the show. But right now, we're pleased to have with us ALAINA Morris of Main Street Media, talking a little Southeastern Conference women's basketball. ALAINA covers the Vanderbilt Commodore women for Main Street Media and was keeping an eye on last night's riveting activity down in Baton Rouge as the Commodores really pushed LSU before the Tigers came out and stayed undefeated with an 83-77 victory down there. But ALAINA, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. You know, Vanderbilt got off to a great start, and there's nothing wrong with 14-4, but they have lost, what, their last 3 now in Southeastern Conference play? Is that right?
Yes.
You know, how much of a concern do you feel like there is in the Commodore camp right now as they transition into SEC play, and how concerned should they be?
I don't think there's too many reasons for them to be concerned. I think there are obviously, small things that they can work on. I think in their last 3 losses, they were against, very good teams and things that, they might have struggled with too. They caught a Kentucky team at a bad time who was shooting the ball really well. They've continued to shoot the ball really well. And then they went down to Oxford and just didn't play a very good game against Ole Miss. And it just kind of looks like they unraveled a little bit there. But last night, they did not look like that same team down in Baton Rouge. They went toe-to-toe with the Tigers for 40 minutes. And, talking to Shea Ralph after that game, she said that the team that played down at Ole Miss, that's not a team that's going to see the floor again. And that she hopes that last night was a turning point for her team and the rest of this season and that they can, get back in the win column.
We've talked a lot about the SEC men's side and great teams in this conference on the women's side.
I'm sorry, you cut out just a little bit.
I was just saying that the level of competition across the SEC on the women's side, may not be quite what it is on the men's side, but it's pretty stout. I mean, you can play well and take an L on a lot of nights. Yeah,
definitely. I think that right now there's projected to make then 10 teams, I believe, from the SEC are projected to make the tournament. And so, not quite that 13 that's projected on the men's side for the SEC. But, like you said, on a good night like Vanderbilt had last night, they just came up short. But just about from top to bottom, those last few bottom teams in the SEC, they have a tougher time competing with the middle of the pack. But, you could be the 8th or 9th best team in the conference and go head-to-head and compete very well with some of these teams like South Carolina, Texas, LSU, Oklahoma, who's just joined. They fell the other night to Mississippi State, who was, before the season, they were picked to be 9th in the SEC. And so there's not a very wide margin between the middle of the pack and those top tier teams in the conference.
And ALAINA, as you kind of mentioned that, how critical was it? We talked a little bit on this show yesterday about the Vanderbilt men and how difficult it would be to scrape across wins. They got the nice win versus Georgia, coming off of such a brutal slate when you have Kentucky, Ole Miss, and LSU back to back to back. what is the rallying cry, or what have you seen, or what do you think will be the rallying cry for Coach Ralph and that bunch as they get ready for a really talented and improved, obviously, Tennessee team coming in on Sunday?
I think, the difference between last Thursday against Ole Miss and last night against LSU, I mean, they just looked like two different teams, and they looked like they were playing with full effort, and that's something you can't coach. And last night, she got her team to, rally together and do that, and I think that she's trying to get them to do the same thing heading into Sunday against Tennessee. Obviously, the Lady Vols have had a great year, and I'm sure that, people knew how good of a coach Kim Caldwell was at Marshall, but I'm not sure anybody anticipated her having this much success early on at Tennessee. But I think Sunday is going to present a great opportunity for Vanderbilt. I know Tennessee also just fell short to LSU recently, but after Sunday, I don't want to say it gets easier because the SEC never really gets easier, but they do get a little bit of I guess, quote unquote, break with some not ranked opponents or games that might be, in favor of the Commodores. So I think that this, stretch that they're in right now is just a really tough time. But after this, there are some games that Vanderbilt will have to capitalize and win those.
You certainly want to win the games versus Kentucky, Ole Miss, and LSU, but if you can't win them, in a perfect world, you take one or two things and try and implement that down the road. Is there any pinpoint that you can give us as far as something, maybe whether it's LSU or even those two prior, that Vanderbilt will try and do to maybe ensure success down the road in some of these closer games?
Yeah, I think one point of emphasis, I think, honestly, throughout the season against bigger teams has been rebounding. Vanderbilt, unfortunately, is without their center this season, Sasha Washington. She suffered some health issues before the season started, and so she'll be out for this year. And so taking away that presence in the rebounding, it's been a little bit difficult for Vanderbilt to find that at times. And so, you can't throw somebody on the floor to replace someone like Sasha Washington. That's just hard to, implement. But I think that what they can do is find that third reliable scorer. Obviously, Camille Pierre and Michaela Blakes, they've been terrific for Vanderbilt this season. But, obviously there's hiccups, and Michaela Blakes kind of experienced a freshman hiccup last night at LSU, as all freshmen do. But on those kind of nights, they have to find that other person to go to who can score. And that was Ayanna Moore last night. She had a great game at LSU, 23 points, 5 3-pointers. And so for Vanderbilt, it's finding that third piece outside of Michaela and Camille Pierre to get some scoring for them. And I think if they can get Ayanna Moore to consistently score the way she did, like last night, it's going to be tough to put up 5 threes every night, but if they can get double figure scoring from her in the SEC, that's going to really help them win some games.
ALAINA Morris of Main Street Media joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. You mentioned Ayanna Moore, the former Blackman High School standout. And, like you said, she had a great game last night. She's had some big games over her tenure at Vanderbilt. The consistency is something that I'm sure Coach Ralph and the coaching staff would like to see out of her.
Yeah, and I think that last season, it was my first season covering the Commodores a little bit in non-conference play. I think recently I read that after the non-conference slate was over, she was just averaging shy of 10 points per game. And then when SEC play started, she ended the year averaging 14 points per game. And so far, that's kind of what we've seen. It's that similar pattern where maybe she's trying to get, her feet set, get ready and feel a little bit better and work through some things during that non-conference portion of the year. But once she gets to SEC play, she's starting to get her groove back, get into a rhythm. And we saw that last night. And so, from what we saw last year, I think that maybe she'll trend again in that way. And if that's, the way it's going to go, it's going to be big for Shea Ralph to get that production from Ayanna Moore.
Shifting gears just a second, what do you see out of Tennessee? You mentioned Kim Caldwell and the job that she's done to this point with a roster that they really had to kind of rebuild on the fly. And, we talked a little bit with Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 yesterday. This team is fascinating to me they shoot a lot of threes, and that can really be a double-edged sword type situation. But what do you like about them when you watch them?
I think the physicality they play with, they're a very physical team who will press you the entire game and make it really difficult on the offense and things like that. And also, I think it's entertaining to watch Coach Caldwell's system and how she runs it. I mean, she'll have 5 to start the game, and a couple minutes later, all 5 of those players or 4 of those players might be. So she's developed a lot of depth from players, and it's interesting too because that's a team that's got 4 or 5 players that are capable of putting up 20 plus points on any given night. And so I think, to me, what really sticks out is the way that she was able to develop those kind of players so quickly and figure out that system in one of the toughest leagues, if not the toughest league, in all of college basketball.
Yeah, that's the part that's fascinating with me, ALAINA, is getting it done on the fly. I think if you'd have told UT fans coming this season, hey, it's going to be a little bit of a rebuilding year, they would have been pretty disappointed, but they would have maybe understood. But the fact they got so many wins and they're playing so well early, it kind of almost makes you dare to dream a little bit, which is crazy because UT already has such lofty expectations anyway.
Yeah, they do. I mean, and they have that, they understandably, they have had that success with, Pat Summitt. And so after that, the standard is set very high. And I think that obviously, they would have given Kim Caldwell a little bit of grace given her situation, but they really haven't had to this year. And so I think that is very impressive to me, just seeing what she's been able to do in just such a short amount of time.
ALAINA, looking across the SEC, and you brought Texas and Oklahoma into this thing this year. A tough league got tougher with those two, but South Carolina 67, Texas 50 over the weekend. I don't know that anybody was necessarily expecting that in a top 5 matchup.
Yeah, I watched that game, and I can't say that I was expecting that either. Obviously, that was in Columbia, and a Don Staley team is always going to play tough and play well. But watching Texas, I mean, I'm sure Vic Schaefer totally was not happy with the performance that his team put on. It's tough when your best player in Madison Booker only made 3 shots and attempted 19. And there's not very many nights that she's going to have a night like that. And I think just it's one of those games where the shots aren't falling, but that's not a Texas team that I would want to play down the stretch or in the SEC tournament by any means, especially given the history that, Vic Schaefer has. He's a phenomenal coach. He's put that on display at Mississippi State. He's done great things at Texas now. And so I think that, that performance was tough, but that's not the performance that Texas puts on every night.
What other teams or what other storylines, I guess, have really kind of captivated you through the first few weeks of league play in your mind?
I think Kentucky is a big one. Kenny Brooks, obviously another first-year coach coming from Virginia Tech. He brought his star point guard, Georgia Amore, with him, and she's been tremendous. She can facilitate. I think she's averaging around 8 assists per game and also averaging around 17 points while doing that. And that's a Kentucky team last year who really struggled with Kyra Elzy. And so, being able to turn that around with another first-year coach in Kenny Brooks, he's done a really good job of putting a roster together with some great players and bringing Georgia Amore with him. That was big, but players like Clara Strack standing at 6'5", Amelia Hassett, a tall player who can shoot the 3. That's also tough to guard. And so he's done a great job. That's really stuck out to me too, is Kentucky and just the storyline over there. Another first-year coach in the success already.
You mentioned Vanderbilt going down to Oxford and taking a tough one on the chin, 87-59 loss to Ole Miss. What do you think of Ole Miss? Where do they fit into things right now?
Ole Miss is just a tough team. Coach Yo down there has them playing night in and night out tough, and they're a very physical team. They don't allow their opponent to score very many points, and so I think that's also where Vanderbilt struggled. They have a pretty high-octane offense, and so I think even though they were picked to finish, around that middle of the pack, they're going to compete with these teams that are considered the high tier in the SEC just because of the way that they play and how physical they are. And I think that really threw Vanderbilt off the other night with, both teams trying to bounce back too. They kind of made sure they were coming home in their SEC opener and not letting, their team lose that first game at home in the conference play.
Again, we've talked about the SEC men's level of competition a lot, but looking at the women and looking at the standings, 12 of your 16 Southeastern Conference teams already have double-digit victories. Kind of tells you it's going to be a long year.
Yeah, I mean, the level of competition, it's just interesting because there are so many teams who can compete. I think there's a game the other day that I watched, Mississippi State, who is considered, one of the middle of the pack teams in the SEC. They upset number 10 Oklahoma. And so I think that also just speaks to the level of the competition. I mean, Vanderbilt last night too, they were, a few shots away from pulling an upset on the road and handing LSU their first loss of the year. And so these teams that are kind of just that in the middle right now, they're a few, I guess, plays away from those big upsets. And so I think, as the season continues to unfold, we're going to see those good games and some more of those type upsets.
As the season kind of unfolds, you mentioned Kentucky as a kind of a compelling storyline, but is it still we'll talk a little bit, but South Carolina still got the goods? How many losses, I guess, a better way to ask this question, how many losses does South Carolina end up with in conference play in your mind?
Well, I thought the Texas game was a little bit of a toss-up. Obviously, though, South Carolina handled business. They do play Texas twice, and so I think that that's a game down in Austin that the Longhorns might be looking for revenge there. And then I think LSU is one of those other toss-up games. So, I mean, I see the Gamecocks potentially finishing with a loss or two, but very well with the pieces that they have, they could, win out until the SEC tournament. But I think that, the low, I guess, would be two to a team like LSU and Texas. I think those are the biggest threats for a South Carolina team. But, I mean, Dawn Staley, she's got a lot of players she can look to have success.
ALAINA Morris, who covers Vanderbilt's women for Main Street Media, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. The Commodores are off Thursday before catching Tennessee at Memorial Gym this weekend. So who are you looking at Thursday night? Who do you feel like's a big game on Thursday's slate?
Thursday night, I have to look at the games to see, what's going on. I do know Tennessee plays before they head to Vanderbilt. So I think, honestly, I'm just paying attention to kind of what they're doing and how they look before. Because I think a big question, too, is if Kim Caldwell is going to be able to coach throughout the end of the week. I know she's expecting soon, and so she might not be able to be coaching that game on Sunday. And so I know she met with the media this morning and said she's trying to figure out her plans. And so that's a big question mark heading into Sunday is whether or not she'll make her way to Nashville.
Oh, goodness. I didn't know what her due date was. I didn't realize it was that close. They've got Mississippi State coming in on Thursday night. So, yeah, I would imagine everybody in Knoxville's on pins and needles then.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see, should be coaching Thursday, Sunday, just kind of the extent of this little run for her, how long she's going to keep coaching. That's definitely a question mark heading into the weekend.
And after, I guess, how quickly she gets back. So, yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. ALAINA, we appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
All righty. Hey, when we continue here on Top 5 Tuesday on Main Street Sports today, we'll talk a little NFL. Again, playoffs, the opening round officially wrapped up last night, and we've got more playoff action this weekend. So we'll talk about it when we come back.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Reporting from Pulaski, that's Wade Neely. I'm here in Main Street Sports Today, HQ in Columbia, and let's talk a little NFL, because the Vikings kind of spit the bit last night in a 27-9 loss to the Rams out in Arizona in the final matchup of Super Wild Card Weekend. 27-9, and I don't know if it ever felt that close, Wade.
Sure didn't seem like it. And, Sean McVay, the mad genius, wondering what the heck he's doing, resting his starters, week 18, a chance to improve his seeding. And he says, no, don't worry, I'm cool, I got this. I don't even have to play at my home stadium. We talked about the Lions hangover. And in a 2-week span, Minnesota goes from the 1 seed dangling like it's Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom right there for the taking. But instead, they find a way to stub their toe in the game versus the Lions, and then the letdown of letdowns. This one was, like you said, not close. And, man, Minnesota's got an interesting offseason ahead after a stinker last night.
They really do have an interesting offseason ahead, and as it so often does in this sport, it begins at quarterback, because Sam Darnold did not have a great game against Detroit and possibly had a worse game last night in his final 2 games before he goes into free agency. Now, was Minnesota planning on going with the rookie J.J. McCarthy as QB1 next year anyway? Yeah, not necessarily, considering the performance that you've gotten all year long out of Sam Darnold. But the last couple of games certainly have to give pause to the momentum that he had with the Vikings.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this was an unusual season from the jump for Minnesota, because you draft McCarthy, and their Vegas preseason win projection was 10.5. So, I mean, that's a decent season. But I don't know that anybody expected certainly a 14-win season right there being in the cusp, especially when McCarthy goes down. You remember there were questions of whether or not who should start, who will be the starter. And McCarthy kind of made it a little easier in the preseason with his injury. And then also, I think some Vikings fans deep down probably said, well, I mean, this was going to be a little bit of a throwaway year anyway. Flash forward, and O'Connell's basically your coach of the year, and you're battling for the 1 seed in the final week. So you had to think and recalibrate on the fly. And it's going to be interesting. They have a huge decision to make because of the way Darnold played so well at times throughout the season. Finished, 4th, I think, in passing yards. I mean, he was fantastic, kind of reclaiming his career in many regards.
Absolutely.
So, a massive, massive decision looming, and not just in Minnesota, because, I mean, it feels like it's Aaron Rodgers or Sam Darnold to Nashville, depending on what or other insert franchise here, depending on what the Vikings decide to do.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't get too caught up in the way things wrapped up, maybe he's back in Minnesota. Maybe he's back in Minnesota on a relatively cheap deal in light of the way things wrapped up. And then you've got a bit of a security blanket, and you've got an actual quarterback competition maybe in preseason between he and, the still rookie, because he never got on the field this year, J.J. McCarthy. But in the last 2 games, 18 of 41 for 166 against Detroit, 25 of 40 for 245 last night with a touchdown and a pick. So, again, if you are Minnesota, the question has got to be, which Sam Darnold are we going to get in 2025 if we get either of them? Because 33 or 43 for 377, 3 touchdowns and a pick against Green Bay in the final home game.
Yeah, Darnold was at his best. Seemed like a guy. You're not talking about bringing him back. You're talking about bringing him back on a big deal at that point. But then the Darnold
He cost himself a lot of money this last couple of weeks.
It feels like it, right? Yeah, I mean, that's the way I'm seeing this. And they have needs elsewhere, too. So franchise tagging him, which is, I think, what a lot of folks are expecting maybe to happen. Yeah, in one sense, you keep Darnold. But on the other hand, you kind of put a Band-Aid on a different spot where you need a few other Band-Aids. So it's going to be very intriguing. They got, in a weird way, like I said, you got to walk it all the way back to your preseason expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment, of course, the 1 seed was there for the taking. Massive disappointing exit the final 2 weeks of the regular season and the postseason. But in a weird way, you kind of learned a lot about your team. You feel excellent about your coaching staff, and you feel pretty good about some other areas. You kind of have a great framework heading into next year, but man, the way they flamed out at the end has got to be disappointing, considering the way that they had everything there for the taking 2 weeks ago.
No doubt. So again, divisional round matchups are set. Saturday, you've got Houston going to Kansas City in the early game on Saturday because that's what Houston does. You've got Washington at Detroit in the late game on Saturday night. Sunday, you've got Rams, Eagles, and then, of course, the nightcap, Baltimore, Buffalo. And certainly the late games on both days are a little bit more tantalizing than the early games.
It feels like it, and and back to the rundown too. I told everybody to be on alert for the Rams, and it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate things now. That bye week, quote unquote, where they rested everybody, could have been just what the doctor ordered. But Vegas is not giving much love. All these spreads are pretty high. Kansas City favored by 8, Detroit favored by 10. The Eagles are within the touchdown realm at 6.5. But the only one that's even remotely close is Baltimore, basically a pick 'em at -1. So I'm going to be curious to see a couple things. The Chiefs, same boat, right? We talked about it, how they had that crazy gauntlet of 3 games in 10 or 11 days, but then they rested coming out of Christmas break. Some of these starters hadn't played in close to a month by the time this thing rolls around. How much is the rust factor? I think even with minimal rust, they should be able to sleepwalk to a win versus the Texans. Detroit and Washington should be fascinating just from the sense of what we talked about on yesterday's show with Daniels and what he's able to do. But I think the 2 Sunday games are going to be the most compelling. Rams and Eagles will be what Philadelphia does. It will be an ugly, gross game, and it's going to be just who executes on third down or who executes in the special teams that wins that one. And then Ravens and Bills should be fantastic. A matchup for the ages, hopefully to save what has been a disappointing playoffs in terms of compelling games thus far.
I think the biggest thing for Houston is Pat Mahomes isn't going to throw it to them 4 times.
Sure doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, so if he does, then you got to kind of recalibrate your thinking on that matchup. But I just don't see that being the case. One thing to keep an eye on in that Rams-Eagles matchup, Nakobe Dean went out of the Eagles' opening round victory at linebacker, and former Vanderbilt standout Oren Burks, who created that fumble on the opening kickoff that led to Philadelphia's first touchdown in that eventual win over Green Bay, will be stepping in for Dean. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, because now you got a couple of guys on that defense with local ties. In addition to Oren Burks, you've also got Reed Blankenship, who knocked a guy out of that game with an arm injury, I think, late against the Packers. So got some local ties in Philly.
Yeah, a couple good local guys. We can talk with Chip about Reed. He's played very, very well in his first few seasons up there. So, like I said, this will be a fun matchup and a chance, we've seen some MTSU guys, whether it's Ward with the 49ers or some other guys that have stepped up. There's eventually a little bit of a local flavor, if you look hard enough, especially in most of these postseason games as we come down the stretch.
Absolutely. Away from playoff action, obviously we talked yesterday about Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys parting ways, and I guess you got to talk about the possibility of Deion Sanders in that mix. Apparently he and Jerry Jones have talked. How realistic is that?
I mean, it just depends on who's blowing the smoke, right? Is this Jerry Jones fanning the flames for a little, raising the profile of the job perhaps? Maybe a little positive PR in a sense? Or is this Prime doing what, but kind of old school Prime? I'm going to be the next football coach at Florida State. He famously declared years and years ago. He has a way of inserting him into conversations that the average coach either is unwilling to or not capable of. I don't know. It could fit. It would be perfect for the Cowboys because it's either going to go great or it's going to go horrible.
It's going to be boom or bust if it happens.
No doubt.
My concern is, as long as Jerry Jones is in charge of things in Dallas, do you want to be a GM? Do you want to be a coach there?
I mean, with Deion in particular, the question becomes, is this the only opportunity you're going to get? You have a chance to call the shots in this sense. The franchise is reeking of desperation, and so you have a chance to strong-arm your way into a job potentially. I mean, the allure of becoming one of just 32 jobs on the planet is a factor that cannot be overstated. And whether it's dealing with the Cowboys or not, once you get that NFL head coaching stamp on your resume, man, it can carry you a long way.
You keep reminding me of that, and I appreciate you doing so, because the opportunity to be one of 32 in anything has to be appealing regardless of what else goes with it, I guess.
Same with college basketball, right? There's only 300 and something of those in the world. If you have the opportunity to get one, that opportunity is appealing to certain folks. And it seems like Prime is destined. I mean, if you're going to make a splash in the NFL, do you think Prime is going to go to Cleveland for his head coaching debut?
I guess I never really – I would love to know before Deion went to Jackson State what his end game was. What he felt like his end game was, what he felt like he could top out at in this realm. Because, I've never thought of Deion Sanders as an NFL head coach. And, that's no slap at Deion. It just wasn't something that was really in my thought process. So, I don't know. He's also obviously been connected with the Raiders vacancy following Antonio Pierce's departure. So, shoot, now he's got leverage.
Yeah, he's got leverage, and if not, this is the ultimate year because he has the ultimate dangling chip, the golden chip with his son, right? And that's why when Callahan was retained in Nashville, I thought there was a brief moment in time you could do the ultimate power play. Hey, you want me, or you want my son rather? You got to have me. And when the Titans retain Callahan, that obviously goes out the window. So now you just kind of go down the pecking order. And now are you in a situation where if Dallas does hire him, Deion has been so vocal about wanting to coach both of his sons, if possible, in the NFL. Is a franchise willing to not only hire him, but then now potentially in Dallas's case, make a move to go up the draft board to have to draft him? The ultimate bargaining chip right now in Deion. That's why I feel like this is the year potentially to do it. If Deion goes 5-6 next year at Colorado with no superstars, quote unquote, on the roster. If not now, then when is the real question.
And it's been said on this show on more than one occasion, sometimes you got to go. And to your point, this may be the time for Deion to go.
And if you go and you flame out in 2 or 3 seasons at Dallas, big whoop. Everybody does that. So, I mean, but you're an NFL head coach. Like I said, you have that on your resume. Deion will have done it at multiple levels. And then if he could decide at that point if he's long for the NFL coaching lifestyle. I mean, he's kind of in a perfect situation. His star will shine brighter, much longer for pretty obvious reasons than Jerry Jones longevity-wise. So it feels like this could be. It also feels like it could be a total smokescreen, and both entities are just using it to their advantage.
Yeah. And, again, to your point, Deion goes to Dallas or wherever else, 3 years, it doesn't work out. He can always go to the house.
Yeah, you can become Shadur's personal, agent, for lack of a better term. I mean, just you can ride that as long as you want, as long as his star is still shining.
Yeah. So, one place Deion won't be going apparently is Pittsburgh, and no one else will be going to Pittsburgh. And Mike Tomlin won't be leaving Pittsburgh, and a number of Steelers fans are greatly disappointed at that. And,
who are those Steelers fans is my question, because, I mean, let's be honest. How much better is it going to get right now?
That's the question that nobody seems to be able to answer. I have maintained for the last 5 years that if Mike Tomlin gets fired, he will have a job before Pittsburgh gets him replaced. Period. But beyond that, 1, who comes in there? 2, what's that do for the roster that you've got? I mean, it's just awfully convenient that everything that's wrong with the Steelers is Mike Tomlin's fault.
Well, that's my question, is, like I was saying, who are these Steelers fans you're hearing this from? Because, I mean, anybody with any real level-headedness has got to be appreciative of kind of what they got.
Well, as I told you last week on Top 5 Tuesday when we were talking about proposed resolutions, I probably spend too much time on social media.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's
so.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, by that token, there will be people that still want Ryan Day fired after he wins the national championship next week. There will also randomly probably be some Chiefs fans that think it's time for Andy Reid to go after they win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, if you look deep enough in the trash on the social media, you'll find anything.
Yeah, which, again, brings me back to my resolution.
We're working on that for you for 25, Mo.
I really do need to work on that. But, it's a double-edged sword, because Steelers fans are frustrated with the fact that they've not won a postseason game in nearly 8 years. Now, they've been in the postseason. They've had winning records. They've just not won playoff games. I think that, again, there are a number of teams and there are a number of fan bases that would gladly trade places with Pittsburgh, because, I mean, if you're in it, you got a shot. So, I mean, if Tomlin gets fired, do the Titans make a move with Callahan? Probably not, but, I just feel...
To your point, yeah, he wouldn't get hired before they replace him this cycle, but any other year, absolutely, because... And I made that parallel last week. All roads lead to 10-7. They either start 2-5, and then he somehow does what he does and gets them to 10-7, or they start 5-2 like we saw this year. Looked like they were going to be the 1 seed at the halfway through the point of this year, and then they squander a 2-game lead down the stretch. All roads lead to 10-7, and all roads lately have led to a first-round exit.
Yeah. So, hour number 1 of Top 5 Tuesday is in the books here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Hour number 2 starts after the break as we bring Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, on board. And again, in our final segment, it is Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will give you our top 5 players turned coaches. Stick around for that. Stick around after this break for Chip.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Our number 2 of Top 5 Tuesday gets going right here, right now on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And as we always do about this time, we are joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. Chip, have you thawed out?
I have. A couple of things right here. Number one, I'm heartbroken that Bree Smith is no longer at Channel 5.
What?
Have you not seen that?
I saw Leland on last night. I saw the young kid over the weekend. I didn't realize she had left.
Apparently, and Channel 5 didn't have a whole lot to say about it. Anyway, speaking of that,
you have just ruined my entire day.
I'm sorry to deliver the news, but I thought she's just fantastic on TV. Things
happen in this business, Chip.
Yep, it's true. Everybody loves to and I tweeted about this the other day, is everybody loves to jump on the weather people and say they never get it right and blah, 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 blah. Man, did they ever hit it 100% correct.
They did.
And also with that, other people who a lot of times get less than stellar reviews, but TDOT over in our area, Rutherford County and City of Murfreesboro did an incredible job of preparing the roads for what came on Friday. And virtually, once the snowstorm was over on Friday, come Saturday, it was, almost back to business as normal. as far as getting around town over here and all of that. So, a tip of the hat to those folks who had to get out in the cold weather and take care of that stuff.
The school kids don't want to hear that, Chip. T-Dot and Freddie O'Connell and everybody, they did too good of a job, we joked over the weekend.
Exactly. And I did notice where there are a couple of counties over in our area, like Van Buren and Cannon County, are still out today. But, they've got a lot more back roads that are shaded and all that. So, and that made for the also, our parking lots over by Murphy Center, the entrances to the building, were just spotless, spick and span, easy to get in and out of the building, less than 24 hours after the snow stopped. And the folks who took care of that did a great job.
Chip, it was cold outside. It was not cold inside Murphy Center this past week.
Probably just a really good week for the men's team. And I'm trying to find, I'm going to find my numbers here. I sent out to somebody. The Conference USA, and I'm speaking on the men's side this year, is maybe one of the most improved leagues in the country from a net perspective. When you look at the net, just looking at a couple of comparisons, last year there were numerous teams in Conference USA that had drifted down below number 200. And there's 350, give or take, Division I basketball teams, and the net rankings and KenPom rank them 1 through 350 or whatever the number is. This year, there is only one team that is under or past the 200 mark, and that's FIU. You've got 8 of the 10 ball clubs on the men's side are between 101 and 183. Liberty is in the top 100 right now at 72, and FIU is at 224. And just throwing a comparison out there, right now in the OVC, their highest rated team is at 234. So Conference USA is much improved this year, and you've got a bunch of teams that are very close to each other in the net rankings. Middle, Louisiana Tech, New Mexico State, Western Kentucky, Jacksonville, UTEP, and Sam Houston are all kind of bunched together, and not a whole lot of difference in their net rankings, which makes for, wild outcomes some nights. Already this year, you saw Louisiana Tech, a team that was picked to win the league, go on the road, lose their first 2 before coming back and winning. You saw Western Kentucky beat Liberty on the road and then lose at FIU. Middle did just the opposite. Then this past weekend, you had a sellout at UTEP for New Mexico State and UTEP, who at the time were both undefeated. Battle of I-10. They're 45 miles apart. Second best rivalry in the league, and New Mexico State goes in there and beats them by 30. So it was so every night and every week is going to be entertaining. This week you've got rivalry week for Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky, men and women both. Women will play at 2:00 in Bowling Green on Saturday. Men will play at 6:00 in Murfreesboro. And one of the little things that I really like in particular, on the men's side, they do this and have done it for years now, is that no matter where they play, Middle will wear blue, Western will wear red.
That's awesome. I love it. I think we have advanced technologically past the point where somebody has to wear white and somebody has to wear dark for the purpose of television. I wish they'd get rid of that altogether. But Chip, you mentioned that New Mexico State and UTEP was the second best rivalry in Conference USA, and I think I know where you're going with that. But Middle took care of business last Thursday, I guess, since we've talked, with an 84-79 win over Kennesaw State. at the Glass House. Then got 100 Miles of Hate started a little early with that Saturday win over former Western coach Ray Harper and Jack State.
Well, and you know, and I was joking on the air that because Thursday night, while Middle was beating Kennesaw, Jack State was winning in Bowling Green against Western in what I had dubbed as Ray Harper Appreciation Night. At
Oh, I'm
Middle
sure.
Arena.
Absolutely.
And but you know, they were without you know, Middle has been without a couple of guys, Kamari Lands and Alec Oglesby. Jack State was without one player and then lost their starting center at halftime. He got hit in the head during play, and then got woozy leaving the floor at halftime, and basically went into the concussion protocol, and was on the bench wearing sunglasses and a towel over his head, and you know. Because it was obviously having headaches and signs of, which you don't want to see that happen to anybody. But what a week for a couple of Blue Raiders in particular. Justin Porter, who, you know, did not score in the game at Liberty, had a long travel day on Sunday, gets off the bus and comes in and puts up shots for 2 hours on Sunday after traveling back from Liberty, and comes out and scores 58 scored 58 in 2 games, and which left Isam Mustafa as the bridesmaid this week because he had back-to-back 22 and 9 games. And
I think somebody needs to go back over that film and find Isam a 10th rebound.
Yeah, somewhere along the way. I think you could probably find that, but you know, JP it just kind of shows how well he prepares, and Coach McDevitt talked about it last night. He talked when we were talking about that. He said, you know, that JP treats his college career like he's a pro. He goes, if you wait to act like a pro until the end of your college career, you've started too late. And which I thought that was pretty good. And but you know, JP has a real burning desire, you know, for this team to be really good. And you know, we've talked about the maturity of it, and you know, it's not going to be perfect every day, but right now they're playing pretty good. And it's kind of one of those where you kind of wish you had another game in between now and Saturday, but you're both playing on a level playing field because neither team plays until Saturday, and it'll be a good one. I mean, I'm telling you, Don McHenry for Western Kentucky just scares you to death. They've got really, really good players on that team, and you know, you don't go into Liberty and win without having a really good team, and they beat Murray earlier this year, something that Middle couldn't do. So it ought to be good, and everybody knows the importance of protecting the home court and across this league, and that's why here you want to wrap up this 3-game homestand by playing your best on Saturday.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chip, you mentioned the long layoff. On one hand, it's frustrating because, yeah, you want to get back out there, especially after 2 wins. But I imagine both teams probably going to benefit from a couple days off just to kind of get their feet back underneath them. A mini bye week of sorts, in a sense, it feels like, health-wise, right?
Yeah, and this will happen again in February when they play each other for the second time. Again, when the week you play your travel partner in Conference USA, or those 2 weeks that you play, you only play 1 game. So the next game will be February 15th in Bowling Green for the men, and for the women in Murfreesboro, and that will be a 1-game week as well. And it's kind of nice where they're spaced out. You're not quite, you're about 20% through your conference schedule, and so you get a little chance for a bit of a break, and then you come back and play your rival. Then you'll play about 4 or 6 more after that, and you'll have another little break before you head down the home stretch in the final 3 weeks of the regular season. So it does kind of fall good that way. The thing I don't like is that school at Middle does not start back until next Tuesday. So the students technically are not back in town, but I know the Blue Zoo, which is the student organization, they're really trying to do their best. But this is where Conference USA needs to recognize where are your best games on the schedule. I mean, for instance, UTEP and New Mexico State, that should not have been played last week. Those kind of rivalry games need to be played on like the last week of January, the last week of February, where both schools, Middle and Western, can enjoy this in front of their student bodies as well as their townsfolk. So that's just, it can't be that hard to pull that off.
Is there any thought to, how quickly has that been raised, or can that be altered within a year, or is that something that, we have to wait several years before it maybe gets addressed?
That is totally black box. I have no idea.
I feel like we ran into the same situation back when I was in school in the early 2000s. The big rivalry games end up, while everybody's on Christmas break.
I know, and I think it falls on deaf ears. I mean, the coaches have brought it up. I just don't understand, why that continues to be an issue, but it for some reason it has been, and it just play it, Tennessee. I know they play this Saturday, but in Nashville, but that used to always be like the last game of the first part of the round robin and the last game of the second part of the double round robin. And I don't, especially this year, because you are playing
back when round robin existed in the SEC.
You're playing a double round robin this year. So, I mean, it seems like it could happen that way. And, obviously with 16 teams, you can't do that. And next year, Conference USA will have a little bit of a different schedule as well. But cherish those rivalries and those games where you have an opportunity to have large crowds. Don't handicap your member schools when they have an opportunity to do that, because Western will have that opportunity on the women's side Saturday without their students. Middle has it with the men without students, and then it'll flip. But embrace those rivalries and put them on the best stage possible.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. You mentioned the women go to Bowling Green on Saturday. Again, that's a 2:00 tip. You're really going to be pushing it if you're trying to catch both.
So 2:00 game's over at 4:00. You can be back at 5:30. Come on in Murphy Center, and so I mean it's tight, but it's not. I mean, you can do it if you don't hang around up there.
I think 5:30 is a little optimistic.
Got to hammer down both.
Yeah, you got to deal with KSP coming out of there too. But Middle's women 33 straight Conference USA victories now. They were tied with somebody. I guess it was Rice. They are no longer tied with anybody, and
no, they've blown past that. Yeah,
they are going to put this number where, and they may have already put this number where nobody's ever going to get it.
Yeah, and right now, what and you never know when you got a rivalry game. Where the standings are right now, Western is 2-2, Liberty 3-1, and Middle's already beaten Liberty handily. So, are they poised to run the table again? Well, right now they're the only one who has a chance to do that because they're 4-0, and everybody else has at least one loss in the league. And So in who was it? It was,
which means it's going to be another year that Rick Insel won't be coach of the year, right?
Yeah, Coach McDevitt actually did the math on this the other day, and if the Lady Raiders can win out and win the tournament, the championship game in the tournament would be number 50 in a row. And
I think it's cool that Nick's the one that did the numbers.
Nick figured that out, and not to put pressure on the women's staff, but he said, wouldn't that be great if they could do that, and the championship game in the conference tournament would be the 50th consecutive?
It's a hell of a streak. There ain't no doubt about that.
No question. No question. And if anybody's capable of it, you feel like it is these Lady Raiders the way they're playing right now.
Yeah.
Chip, what else is going on campus?
Well, you are 31 days away from baseball opening. There are in softball's even quicker than that, but there were some softball camps that were scheduled for last weekend that got moved to this coming Saturday.
I can imagine why.
Yeah. If in some of it's even inside, but if you can go on GoBlueRaiders.com and click the softball tab, there's updated information there about those softball camps. If you got young ladies who want to enhance their skill set a little bit, also coming up on February 13th, we've got an event that is a fundraiser for the Raiders Rising NIL Collective. And it is called Blue Bloods in the Round. It is a songwriters night. It's expected to be 2.5, 3 hour show that is at the Humble Baron restaurant and bar at the Nearest Green Distillery in Shelbyville. And all of these, all of the songwriters that are part of this are have MTSU ties, and including numerous Grammy winners. We've got Grammy-winning songwriters who have penned hits for people like Morgan Wallen, Carrie Underwood, Kenny Chesney, Blake Shelton, Miranda Lambert, Eric Church, Little Big Town, and again, it all goes to benefit the NIL program with the Raiders Rising Collective, and a couple of the names of people. Luke Laird is a Grammy-winning award songwriter. Jamie Moore, Natalie Hemby, Gordy Sampson, and Jet Juergensmeyer, among others, are going to be part of this Songwriters in the Round. And if you've not been to the Humble Baron, it has the longest bar in the world, and it is part of the Nearest Green Distillery. Really
longest continuous bar, right?
Longest continuous bar in the country, and they've got a great stage as part of this. A ticket, you can buy your tickets online, and I think the bar seating is like $150 a ticket. But again, this is raising money for the NIL in the college athletic world we live in right now. But this is I think this is a kind of a fans are always clamoring, hey, can you want money, get creative. Well, here's a creative way to do it, and doing it with MTSU assets, and assets being our own alums. And when you have alums that are as talented as we have that come out of our media and entertainment college, Mo, me and you, and Wade, it's really neat to kind of be able to do this in-house and put this kind of event together.
Again, it's on February 13th. That's on Thursday. There is a certain holiday the day afterwards. So if you're trying to get out a little bit ahead of that,
hey, that's right.
This might not be a bad option for you.
That's right. You kill two birds with one stone. You support your program, help the NIL, and also come out as the real hero for Valentine's Day.
And if you've not been to Humble Baron, it might be worth the trip as well. It's a nice spot. I've not been for an event, but this,
Fawn Weaver
might be something to do.
Yeah, Fawn Weaver and the folks at Nearest Green Distillery have been really good partners with the university and athletics, and and this is just one more event in what has been a series of nice events that have where they've been involved, and for them to put this to have this event there, it is such an easy get to right down Highway 231 from Murfreesboro. We had a BRAA appreciation dinner there one night. Was really good event, and it's just first class, and I think folks will be really entertained by this.
And if you know somebody in the aviation department over at MTSU, it can be real easy because there's a landing strip right there close to the distillery as well. So,
it's about to be the future home of the aerospace department because it's moving. The aerospace department is moving to the Shelbyville Municipal Airport.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're building. They'll soon be building about a $60 million facility to where the aerospace department can expand and grow. They're a bit landlocked right now with space at the Murfreesboro Airport, and there's more and more traffic coming into the Murfreesboro Airport that getting out. And the thing is, if you're on the south side of Murfreesboro, it is. You can get to the Shelbyville Airport just as quick as you can the Murfreesboro Airport. And but yeah, that'll be one more little piece. Is we'll have a little piece of the campus down there in Bedford County here before too long.
A little takeover.
Yeah,
you just breaking news left and right here on Main Street Sports today, man. First Bree, and now aviation department is moving. Aerospace department is moving. Excuse me. It's
when news breaks, we fix it.
Tell us about the Conference USA Track Athlete of the Week who resides on the MTSU campus, Chip.
Well, I would be privileged to do that since her name is Privilege Shakara. She was named the Conference USA Women's Track Athlete of the Week. She competed in the Commodore Challenge at Vanderbilt last weekend. She is from Zimbabwe and ran in the 1,000 meter race. She did that in 2 minutes, not 2 hours. I would do it in 2 hours.
There we go. That's it.
She did it in 2 minutes, 50.32 seconds. It marked the first time she had ever run the 1,000 meter race at the collegiate level.
Oh, wow. And imagine when she figures out what she's doing, huh?
Yeah, exactly right. And so I'm lucky to drive a car 1,000 meters in under 3 minutes, but that's 10 football field lengths, or actually a little more than that. So, but that's getting it.
That is. Congratulations to Ms. Chikara. It was a privilege to be able to speak about that. It's a privilege to speak with the Blue Raider voice, the pride of the dimple, Chip Walters, and we get to do it every Tuesday right here on Main Street Sports Today, except when we don't.
That's correct.
Chip, we appreciate it.
See you,
boys.
Catch
up with you.
Thank you, Chip.
Bye-bye.
Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, it's the grab bag, and be sure and stick around for the final segment of the show, Top 5 Tuesday, as Wade and I give you our top 5 players turned coaches. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Again, in our final segment, we will be giving you our top 5 players turned coaches, so be sure and stick around for that. But right now, it's the grab bag. Let's start with a little college football. Let's start with former Lambeth University assistant Tom Allen, who most recently was defensive coordinator at Penn State, is now defensive coordinator at Clemson. Now, why you leave a college football playoff semifinalist program to go to Clemson, well, who knows? I don't know. But Tom Allen on the move. In addition to his time at Lambeth, he was also head coach at Indiana for 7 seasons. Guys had some success at a lot of levels, and it's interesting to see Clemson kind of pick him off. He was at Lambeth with Hugh Freeze, by the way. So a couple of guys who have gone on to bigger and better things, and it's a good thing.
Lambeth.
Well, back when Lambeth, back when Lambeth existed, two, back when Lambeth had football. Now it's Memphis Lambeth campus. So
so they are undefeated since whatever year that is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
kind of like the UT Southern football team's undefeated since like 1908 or something ridiculous.
Gotta love it.
This is a good get for Clemson. At Indiana, not necessarily a dazzling head coaching record, but he did a great job coming right in on the heels of Manny Diaz. And then Penn State had, obviously, having Abdul Carter certainly carries you a long way. But this is a good get for Clemson. And kind of I have a few Penn State fans in my life, and they kind of have insinuated that he's got some family and kind of some roots a little closer. And, by and large, a lateral move probably at best. Because, man, Penn State, it seems like they are loading up. They've had announcement after announcement as far as guys coming back for next year. The blueprint's kind of there. We just talked about teams to win it all yesterday, Mo. The blueprint kind of that Michigan had 2 years ago, the blueprint that Ohio State had this year with a lot of kids coming back, which is kind of a rarity. It is a little bit of a head scratcher, but Clemson, obviously a pretty surefire or solid path to the playoff, even in their down years, as we saw this year.
Yeah. And, you know, there is one place that I can understand it because we've talked about the fact that I hate being cold, and that's a lot less likely to take place in Clemson, South Carolina, than it is in State College, Pennsylvania. So I'm with you, Tom. I got you. We have Ohio State and Notre Dame set to play in Monday's national championship game. And we can't have Ohio State and Notre Dame without revisiting the Ryan Day, Lou Holtz beef coming from September of the 2023 season when Holtz basically called out Ohio State's toughness. He has lost to Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Michigan twice, and everybody beats him and does so because they're more physical than Ohio State. And I know Notre Dame will take that same approach, said Holtz prior to Ohio State's 17-14 victory over Notre Dame. At which time, Ryan Day was looking for Lou Holtz, literally. I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio. It's always been Ohio against the world. And he was asked about it here in the last couple of days, whether or not he had heard from Lou Holtz. Asked during a CFP media conference if he had spoken to Holtz or patched things up, Day responded, no. So, I mean, I don't know if Lou forgot that he said it, which is certainly possible, given his advanced age. But, or maybe I said what I said. I don't know. But it would seem like this would be a time for somebody to be reaching back out to Lou and seeing if he wants to double down on that heading into this national championship game, at which point Marcus Freeman would probably say, you know what, just hush. So we will.
The gift that keeps on giving. You got Ryan Day trying to hunt down an 88-year-old guy.
Hey, I mean, Pedro Martinez, Don Zimmer, right?
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Day. You've got your team back in the national championship game, looking to win it. But my man's worried about Lou Holtz. Let Lou be, man. Come on.
It's interesting. I saw a tweet somewhere. It was either a tweet or it was something on Facebook. I'm not sure, but you got two teams in the national championship game who were on the wrong end of quite possibly the two biggest upsets of this college football season. Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois of the Mountain West Conference, and Ohio State losing to Michigan in the final regular season game of their Big Ten schedule. So either Northern Illinois or Michigan is going to have some bragging rights here at the end of the year.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating. If I'm Northern Illinois, you can market that and take that right on into the Mountain West Conference, right? Hey, we knocked off the national champs. If you're Michigan, you can't really lose because Ohio State, you knocked them off, and Notre Dame is scared to play you. So how about that? And by the way, shout out to our boy, friend of the show, Sheamus of WWE fame. He was on Raw last night doing what he does. I mentioned I saw him at Bridgestone on Saturday, but he picked Notre Dame way back at the start of the season when they were in Ireland. He predicted that Georgia Tech would beat Florida State, and then he said, give me the Fighting Irish to win the national championship. So the folks in South Bend got a little extra love for Sheamus when they come rolling into Atlanta next weekend.
Well, and Sheamus one down, one to go, right?
Yeah, he's sitting pretty, man. It's gonna be fun.
Georgia Tech got it right. Maybe this dude knows something, huh?
There's no telling. I'll have to get with his marketing manager, Mr. Nate Bain, and see what kind of his schedule is, because Raw is smack dab at the same time next Monday night as the title game. Maybe we can clone Sheamus and have him in two places at one time.
Speaking of Wolverine football, obviously Bryce Underwood is going to ride to the rescue next year, and Alex Orji has decided, you know what? I'm going to roll the dice in Vegas. Orji has committed to Dan Mullen, and I don't think the football program is the Running Rebels. I think they're just rebels. But headed to Nevada, Las Vegas, taking his talents to UNLV.
Yeah, this is one that Eric Henry was talking about on Friday's show, that Orji was on the move. And, I mean, the quarterback room is getting more and more crowded in Ann Arbor. In addition to Underwood, they got a great transfer in from Florida State. They just got Chase Herbstreit of, Herbstreit fame. So Orji, as a guy who can't really throw but can run, says, I'll take my chance. It'll be fun to watch him. I will love to see him with Dan Mullen kind of pulling the strings. I think that will be a great fit for him, and it'll be a chance for him to kind of further develop his game. He brought some explosive run capability to the offense for Michigan. Just couldn't throw the ball, but then again, no one could really throw the ball this year.
48 passes in 20 games at Michigan. Not 48 completions.
Yeah.
48 passes. But average 5 yards a carry. So.
Yeah, he was electric at times in the running game. And, I mean, if you recall, at times – that was the only offense that Michigan had. Well, we can't throw the ball literally, so we're just going to have to just line up and run. Think back to that USC game where Michigan is down at their own 15-yard line. Everybody in the building knows they have to run the ball to try and score. It was impossible, and USC couldn't bottle them up. I mean, he will be fun to watch, especially for a already quality Mountain West team. And then you throw in Mullen to the equation. That will be an electric player. I guarantee you he'll get used a lot on the college football game next year.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I don't know who the name Bubba Thompson means anything to, but he is a former Alabama All-State quarterback at McGill-Tulane down in Mobile. He is headed back to Mobile, walking on at South Alabama after he was the Texas Rangers' first-round pick in 2017 and has played pro ball for the last 8 years. He's 26 years old. He's 26 years old, but he's got all 5 years of eligibility because he's never gone to college. So, 3-star recruit out of McGill-Tulane, including offers from Ole Miss and Tennessee. Won a 7A state championship as a senior that fall of 2016 when he threw for 3,173 yards and 38 touchdowns. Committed to sign baseball scholarships with both Alabama and Auburn at various points, but again, was drafted in the first round by Texas. Made 17 career major league appearances. I'm sorry. He appeared in 17 games this past year with Cincinnati, played in 109 career major league games with the Rangers and Reds. Hit .232 with a home run, 13 ribs. 27 steals. So he's got some wheels, apparently. So he will be in the QB room with Major Applewhite and the Jags.
Chance for them to get a look. This is on the news. Man, it's cut me deep with my Astros the other day, Mo. They had one of their big draft picks. They're not watching him come up in the Astros organization. Bryce Bochetter is the leading tackler for Oregon football, and he just announced he's not going to pursue any sort of MLB career going forward. He liked what he did on the gridiron this year, and he's coming back to Oregon in 25. So the crossover appeal is strong with some of these guys. And, man, talk about just elite athleticism, being able to do that.
That's crazy. I mean, who was the outfielder that we talked to with the Sounds this past year who played football down at UAB? wound up leading the team in what, home runs or stolen bases or both, I think. I cannot remember his name, but yeah, to your point, though,
Brewer
elite,
Hicklin.
yes, elite athleticism to be able to play at that level, multiple sports. It's disgusting, really, is what it is. So, but certainly be worth keeping an eye on with South Alabama of the Sun Belt. Sad news out of Boulder, Colorado, as former Buffaloes coach Bill McCartney passed away over the weekend at the age of 84. McCartney led Colorado to its only national championship back in 1990. 2013 College Football Hall of Fame inductee. His career record at Colorado of 93, 55, and 5 makes him the winningest coach in Colorado football history. And that 1990 national championship included the infamous fifth down game at Missouri, where the officials blundered, did not flip the marker from second down to third down. And on fourth down, Charles Johnson scored, which should have been fifth down. So, you know, when you win national championships, there are some things that have to happen for you, and sometimes it takes a little luck. And I guess that was one of those times for the Buffaloes. So, yeah, again, Bill McCartney passed away over the weekend at the age of 84. Finally, real quick, this was the grab bag, and it was college football dominated, but we mentioned this week's men's basketball top 25 real briefly when we were talking to Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 yesterday. Tennessee's devastating loss to Florida last week pretty well precipitated their drop from the number one spot after 5 weeks. Auburn moves up a spot into the number one spot, followed by Iowa State, Duke, and Alabama, each moving up a slot as well. Florida comes in at number 5, 3 spots up from last week. Tennessee drops 5 spots to number 6. Again, I think Auburn, Alabama, Florida, and Tennessee are 4 of 9 teams in the top 25. Kentucky's at 8. Texas A&M is at 11. Mississippi State coming in at 15, actually dropping a spot despite that win at Vanderbilt. Ole Miss is at 21. Georgia comes into the poll at number 23. Again, they play Tennessee tomorrow night. Memphis holding steady at 18 for those interested. So,
yeah, and tough break for Vanderbilt. We talked about how close they were, and it's how quick your luck can change in this town, right?
Yeah, Vanderbilt not even getting votes at this point, unfortunately. Oklahoma basically is number 27. Missouri is also getting votes. So again, you've got 9 teams in the top 25 and 2 others getting votes out of your 16-team conference. 2 teams in the conference, meanwhile, are looking for their first SEC victories. Looking at the 2 newest arrivals, Texas and Oklahoma, who will jump it up tomorrow night out in Norman. Both 0-3 in SEC play to this point. Texas 11-5 overall after that loss at home against Tennessee. Oklahoma 13-3. Oklahoma was one of the last unbeatens. But again, 0-3 in league play after coming into conference action 13-0. So
only fitting that those two will have to do battle to get their first SEC win. Came close on a couple different occasions, but you got to settle it the old school way for the first one.
yeah, Texas opened, like you said, against A&M, Auburn, and Tennessee. A&M is currently number 11, Auburn's number 1, and Tennessee's number 6. Excuse me. So, yeah, obviously this was a football move, but basketball is taking its toll on the Longhorns and the Sooners right now. So we'll see how that goes. Let's take a break real quick here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back for our final segment, it is Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will give you our top 5 players turned coaches. Stay tuned.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new, handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
It's the final segment of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, which means it is time for Top 5 Tuesday, presented by Mid-South 5 Fitness. 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Whatever shape it is you are in, Dallas Steele will get you in a better one. You can find him at Steel Athletes, STEEL athletes.com. Today's Top 5, prompted by NFL Hall of Famer and Colorado Buffaloes coach, perhaps soon to be Dallas Cowboys coach, Deion Sanders. Top players turned coaches. And not just football, just whatever we come up with. So, with that in mind, Wade, the floor is yours.
Yeah, and let's kick this off. I mean, let's just go right to the top. Bill Russell. I really don't need to say a whole lot more. But if you want me to, I mean, 11-time NBA champ, and a couple of those as not just a player, but as a player coach. I mean, that's about as good as you can get for the legend.
That's a great get. It's an obvious get. I'm going to go a little more obscure.
We love the obscure.
There is one former major leaguer to reach the 2,000 hit plateau as a player and the 2,000 win plateau as a manager, and it is Joe Torre.
On the list, he's one of the best.
Yeah. What did he do? He won 6 AL pennants, 4 World Series championships with the Yankees, and was first all time with 84 career playoff victories at the time of his retirement. Played 14 seasons with, oh, that's not right. I'm misreading that. Never mind. Played with the Braves and the Cardinals, later managed both of them, but again, did not really have his managerial success until he got to the Big Apple. But Joe Torre is my number 1. Number 2, sir.
Up next for me, let's stay NBA for just a moment, but this man was a 2-time champ as a player. All he did as a coach was win 11 rings. The Lord of the Rings, none other than Phil Jackson himself, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I'm going to go at number 2, and I'm not sure I can find all of his bona fides. But Don Nelson, again, another former Boston Celtic who had a great degree of success on the bench as well with both the Celtics and with the Warriors. I think he also coached at Dallas. But Don Nelson is my number 2. Number 3, sir.
Number 3, man, you know what? I'm gonna save the person who I was thinking at number 3. But number 3, give me Mike Ditka, man. I know Chicago. So much of Chicago's lore, still to this day, which kind of tells you all you need to know about the state of that franchise, is built around Ditka. But the fact that I got to look this up too. There's another tight end. It might have been McBride for the Cardinals that just broke a record this year that Ditka still held as a tight end from when he was playing. I'm going to dig that up by the time we sign off here, because in 1961 he gets drafted. But then you think of him as a Super Bowl coach, but obviously he wins the title back in Super Bowl. Your Roman numeral.
Yeah, it was the 85. Yeah,
winning. Well, I'm thinking when he wins one with the Cowboys over the Dolphins, or in the early days, Super Bowl 6. I can count that high, luckily. But yeah, give me Ditka, man, just for the lore, if nothing else.
There you go. My number 3. I'm gonna delve into the NBA just a little bit, and I'm gonna get away from the Celtics a little bit. I'm gonna go with Pat Riley, who had a playing career with the Lakers, was pretty good at Kentucky, part of Rupp's runs, but found a great deal of success on the bench with both the Lakers and the Heat. Give me Pat Riley at number 3.
Hey, no doubt. Adrian Brody playing Pat Riley on HBO on Winning Time. He's as good as it gets. By the way,
I got the slick back hair.
He's got it, baby. That is a great show. By the way, Ditka was broken by Brock Bowers, who set the rookie receiving records mark for tight ends. Ditka had 1,076 yards back in '61, so Bowers pushes him to the side finally this year. And
wonder how many games they played in '61.
I was just getting ready to say, the old school people will start coming for me here and saying, well, he had to play extra games to do it. But get off of Brock Bowers' lawn for just a moment. Number 4, this is right up your wheelhouse, so give me Franz Beckenbauer, one of the only 3 players ever to win a World Cup as a player and as a manager. Beckenbauer, even before he became famous with, the Cosmos back in the day here in the States. But give me Beckenbauer, who got it done as a player for Germany and then also as a manager.
I will have to scratch Franz Beckenbauer off my list. Okay, that's a lie. My number 4, this guy was on deck when Hank Aaron hit 715. Dusty Baker. Became the 6th manager to win 2,000 career games. Led the Astros to a World Series championship. The 9th manager to win pennants in both the American and National Leagues. And when he did it in 21 with the Astros, he was the first manager to win division titles with 5 different teams. Managed the Giants, Cubs, Reds, and Nationals, as well as the Astros. Dusty Baker is my guy. Number 5.
Number 5, you stole Baker right out from under me. I got to account for the game theory here and know that you're going MLB a lot of times. So I'm going to have to pivot to Frank Robinson at this point, because all mine have already been taken off the list. But Frank was one of the best to ever do it. I wanted to pick Cy Young, but I'm not going to, because he coached for like 1 season in 1907 or whenever that was. But it felt like he didn't have enough wins to justify a spot on my list. This is a coveted list, but I'll go with Frank Robinson, who got it done.
I'm going to go at number 5 with Larry Bird. Obviously a great player, coached the Pacers as well. That's going to do it for Top 5 Tuesday, presented by Mid-South 5 Fitness. That's going to do it for Main Street Sports